We're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by the good people here of Guns of Eden. We have Alexandra Faye Sadeghian.
Hey.
Hope I said that right.
It was close. We were close.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Trazz Johnson.
Yes,
Very
sir.
excited. I'd like to see that. And director Greg Lamberson. It's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
So for people who are not aware yet, Greg, could you give them an idea of what the movie is about?
Guns of Eden is a combination of 70s thriller like Deliverance and 80s action film like First Blood with a female hero.
There you go. And what attracted you to the role, Alexandra?
It was awesome.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I feel like that was it. It was awesome. I was like, this is really cool. And I really like, it's female empowerment. But yeah, it's a very empowering role for a female to have. So.
And did you know, I was going to say quick, did you know Greg at all before this?
I did not.
What were you about to say, Greg? Sorry.
I was going to say, after Killer Rack was the first time that I thought about doing the script, which I had written like 25 years earlier. And from the get-go, I knew that the whole thing hinged on having the right actor playing that female role. And I did some general looking locally because that would save a lot of money to have a local person doing the role. And there wasn't anybody that met what I wanted for that character. So when we decided to go full on, Peter's a casting agent, so he can tell you a lot about what this process is like. But rather than do a general casting call and go through 2,000 resumes, which I've done for different characters, I put out the word among other filmmakers to say, this is what I'm looking for this character. And John Woodruff, who did a film that we showed at the festival.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
Animal
title?
Among Us.
Animal Among Us.
Oh, yeah.
Recommended Alexandra. Probably more than any film I've done, I just felt like we had to have the right person for this character or it wouldn't work at all. So we did the casting pretty early on. And the danger with that, a lot of filmmakers cast for films that they don't have funding for.
Yeah.
So the the person that you're considering for the role has to have some faith in you that you're not full of shit and that you're going to be able to actually raise the money. So Tamara and I had a few Zoom meetings with Alexandra just so that she'd know we were real and we knew she was down to earth and somebody that we could work with under what we expected to be difficult COVID situation. And it wasn't even like it was between her and anyone else. We knew very early on that she was the one for that part.
Well, what was specifically about Alexandra that would made her right?
Okay, so I think Tamara received her resume first. And even though I have final say on all casting, right away, right off the bat, Tamara was adamant. And I was a little skeptical only because for 25 years, I had imagined this character as being more Irish looking, strawberry blonde hair, freckles, smoking Marlboros in a bar in Queens. But physically, Alexandra had the physique to be an action hero, first of all, and then her demo reel was good, and there was just no comparison in terms of the audition she did. So each step of the way, we were just like, please let this be good, and each step of the way was actually better.
Yeah. Was the audition over Zoom too?
Self-tape, which is pretty common these days.
And what was the audition like, Alexandra?
I remember I was like, I really want this one. It's like, let's do this. But yeah, it was just like, I really liked the material. Just try to do it justice, honestly.
It's a pretty heavy dramatic part. I mean, and without monologues, it's like any male action hero, it's supposed to be simple dialogue. So you got to convey a lot without a whole lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Trazz, how did you get involved? Sorry if I talked over someone.
Well, you know what? I've been working in the area as an actor, and I have a casting company, and I've been wanting to work with Greg for a while, right? So Greg has done a string of films that have been locally produced. And even myself, I've also, produced and directed some films. And I just mentioned to him a while back, like, hey, listen, like, if the situation occurs, like, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to collaborate with you somehow, some way. And, this situation, kind of came up, and he was looking for, a strong lead. He kind of told me what he wanted, for this. And, I was just I think it just kind of fit me, as well, of what he was looking for in the character. And yeah, we just kind of made it work, man. It was great.
And did you feel you guys had chemistry together? Sorry, Greg. I'll get back to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Alexandra, it was, it's weird, man, because sometimes you don't know that, right? Like, you go into a film, you're cast for a part, and you kind of go into it blindly, not knowing who your scene partner is, not knowing if they're going to be good, if they're going to feed off of you, the energy. And I think, just from like our first day of working together, our energy kind of meshed. We fed off one another. I mean, we still talk she just sent me an audition yesterday for another thing I'm casting. Like, I keep her in the loop now because I know how good she is and I know how well she can perform. So like, I want to get her cast in other stuff. Like, she's great.
Oh yeah. It was a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh yes, perfect. Cause Trazz is perfect for the role, but he's also awesome and also really good. And really nice. So I was just like, yeah.
Trazz did not have to audition. I've shown a few of his films at my festival, and he and I have worked on some of the same projects together, not my projects, not his, but where we were both hired hands. So I've known for a few years that he's very serious about what he does. And, Neal, you've been to Buffalo and you've seen, like, when we show horror films and stuff, you're used to seeing the same actors over and over, but there's a whole bigger community than just that. And Peter's a big part of that. And, here in town, you've got the amateurs who just do it for fun and give it their all. You've got the people who maybe have a little experience and a little talent, but there's not enough work so that they can do this full time. So, they may only be able to shoot weekends or something like that. And then there are people like Trazz and I who we have to have our hands in different things in order to make a living. But when something comes up, we can commit to it full time. So I knew that if he said yes to the part, he'd be great in it. I had written it for a friend of mine 25 years ago. Now he's too old to even consider. And I was thinking of the people in the community, who do I know that could really do this character justice? And it was him. Unfortunately, he said yes. And he asked very early on, can I get in touch with Alexandra and we can work on some stuff together? And I didn't even have to ask him. So I knew I had two professionals in those two key lead roles, and I knew that they would find their chemistry and their little relationships with the characters and stuff, and I wouldn't have to worry about that. So it takes a big load off your shoulders if you're trying to do something of a certain level, to have people that can fully commit that way.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned it's not like a lot of monologues, so it's a very physical role, Alexandra. Had you done a lot of action movies before?
No, I hadn't done a lot of action. I did a lot of dramas. It was mostly drama and stuff, but I am like relatively athletic. So it was something where I was really excited to jump into. I had told Greg that I was taking like boxing classes and all of this stuff just to kind of prepare for the role, so that we had somewhere to go when we finally got up there, and, to make sure I could do everything that was needed for the role.
Had you ever directed a lot of action before, Greg?
Not a lot, but quite a few of my films have one fight scene or two fight scenes. And on this one, really, the extent of my involvement in those two big fight scenes is I wrote it. And then I got Alex McBride, who's been on the show, from Killer Rack. He came on with Michael O'Hare once. He's my fight choreographer. And I trusted him basically to take what I wrote and amp it up some. And he worked with Alexandra, Peter, the two actors that they fight, Tim O'Hearn and Andrew Dale. And they coordinated all that. And then Chris Cosgrave, had to figure out how to shoot it. So my part in those fight scenes, honestly, was fairly minimal. I created it and I wrote it. And then I basically just watched it happen.
Yeah. They said, you came up with the idea like 25 years ago. How much has the movie we saw changed from your original, concept?
Surprisingly, not all that much. I had like an 80-page script before. It was definitely lacking some focus, but the characters were the same, the concepts were the same, a lot of the scenes were the same. But I was 25 years younger, so now there are themes. You know, when I wrote this film, I was just grasping for who the villains would be, and I was just, to me, the idea of, you know, religious gun nuts was just something I latched onto. I never thought that we would be where we are. You know?
Yeah. And not to laugh at that.
6, it's like, those are these guys.
There weren't cell phones like this when he wrote it, and then there's cell phones in this movie.
Right. So we did have to do the cliche of explaining that there's no service with the
right.
Yeah. It is bad. That is one bad thing about cell phones. They ruin movies. You always have to have a scene where why they can't use them. But
it happens.
I'm going to write
all
one
the time.
that's all about cell phones. Like, they're going to be used constantly, and people are going to be taping it, and they're going to call the cops, and the cops are going to arrive on time, and it's just going to blow all the cliches out the window.
Right.
Perfect. It's the next one.
Where did you film this? I assume Buffalo, but
Yeah, around the area, different parks, a farm we were on for 5 days. Me and Chris Cosgrave, the cinematographer, we were really conscious during pre-production to find locations that look different. So it didn't look like we were in the same woods every single scene, because I've seen films like that, especially found footage films. So we did some traveling to get to different parks, like the one with the rocks, you know, the caverns and stuff that Alexandra has to run through, which literally had 8 inches of mud. I mean, you just, from the film, you can't tell how sketchy that.
It was nasty.
You weren't. I don't think you were on set, Alexandra, when we were at one and Greg like fell in water.
I fell on rocks.
Yeah, he fell on rocks and like fell. And I was like, his shoe went in and everything. And it was like, whoa.
It was all rocks leading to a waterfall. And I led the way, and I went down, and not one person helped me up.
I was like, that looked dangerous.
It's not like I could do one of those I meant to do that things. Like, I fell face down in a whole bunch of rocks, and nobody helped me up.
Well, I hope you're all right. I hope you're okay.
It's probably just as well you didn't help me that day, Peter, because that was the last day.
That
was the day when I had you doing all that other stuff.
I was like, I'm over this. I hope you're okay.
Were there any injuries on filming the movie?
No, just sore muscles as far as I know. Did you get hurt at all, Alexandra?
I didn't. Yeah, actually, no.
I came out of my shoe several times. I came out of my shoe. Like, for some reason, Greg told me, he says, make sure we get, you get some comfortable boots, to go with this. And I think the night before filming, I went to Walmart and I was just like, oh, let me just get a pair of, and I got these like low top things that they didn't support my ankle. And there were multiple scenes where I'm running and I come out of my shoe just goes flying. And it started to
see that in an outtakes reel.
Yeah. It developed a personality of its own. The shoe just doesn't want to be on my foot any longer.
The shoe's a diva.
There's a contrast in methods right there, because I told you that at the same time that I made arrangements with Alexandra, and we picked out boots, and she broke them in, and she didn't like the color and dyed them, and she did all this, and you just went to Walmart the night before. What happened?
Well, now you know in the future if you ever need to go fighting out in the woods or something.
Blow up his spot like that.
Adrian Esposito here in the chat, who's also in the movie. Do you think that filmmakers are becoming more brave to make movies with social and political commentary?
No, I think it's always been there. I think if anything, people are taking less chances unless they have a distributor up front that wants something edgy like that.
Yeah, we're in this age now of like indie filmmakers. I mean, people are shooting movies on their iPhones, right? Yeah. So because you have that and you have all of these other different outlets, you got YouTube and just other streaming outlets, people are taking chances, man. They want, they want, video has become more accessible, and now even outlets, if you want to do it, there's an outlet for it. So, people are kind of going gun ho right now.
Yeah. Like Greg said, though, I think it's always been there. It's just some people I guess they did notice it, because like for example, with the new Candyman or even Star Trek, I have, people will fight me on Facebook about this, saying that like the new Star Trek is all about social commentary. And it's like, had you ever watched Star Trek? Or that's like the whole basis of the original series.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange. So I know you have the crowdfunding going on right now.
Correct. Second campaign.
And what's this for?
Finishing funds. Once you have a distributor, you have to provide deliverables, and the price of those items that you got to submit goes up a little bit. I also have one perk from the big campaign, the novelization, that I have to self-publish. So I need to have some funds to cover that as well.
And you do that with most of your movies, the novelization.
No, I've never novelized one before.
I thought you did on the last one, or was it? Oh, it was based on a book.
Yeah, that was somebody else's book, and Johnny Gruesome was a script that I turned into a book 10 years before I did it as a movie. So when I was a kid, I read novelizations. You would buy the paperback for $1.50, and they were 160 pages long with some photos in the middle. And I just kind of want to emulate that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's coming back, at least through you, anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the people who plunked down money for it.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Because it's only for the contributors. It won't be available anywhere else.
Yeah. Where can people find that? Well, I'll put the link on here.
Yeah, Indiegogo, Guns of Eden, finishing funds.
So, were there any particular movies you asked the cast to watch for the inspiration or get ready for the movie?
You always hear about Quentin Tarantino showing movies to actors before films. I tried to do that on our one day of rehearsal, and both of these two walked out before the movie was over. Didn't work for me. I tried to show Attack with Jack Palance. But the genre is, actually it was pretty funny. I assumed everybody had seen the Rambo movies, and Alexandra.
Right.
I hadn't, no.
She's too young.
Nope.
You're too young for the Rambo movies.
But
I was like,
Peter, when we were kids, we saw Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan movies on TV.
oh yeah.
We watched old movies.
We're just uncultured swine.
So
have you seen
let me just tell you, that's what I thought. As for me, I thought that this movie, even though Greg described it as how he described it, I said, oh, this is the female Rambo.
Yeah, I heard that a lot on set.
That's what I said, however he described it, to me, that was my take on it. I said, this is the female Rambo. And, Rambo had a huge impact on our culture at that time. Like, especially during that time, like, who didn't like Rambo, right? Yep. Like, and that's kind of what I think that this is going to be heading for. It's a brand new audience that maybe haven't experienced Rambo. And that now, of course, it's woman empowerment. It's the perfect storm for that. You know what I mean? For that audience to be recaptured.
The timing is right.
Yeah.
Did you end up watching the Rambo movies, Alexandra?
I still haven't. I was
Sylvester Stallone's her granddaddy. She's like, no, I'm not watching my
No, I will. I went straight from Guns of Eden to another movie, and I've just kind of come out of that whole storm, and now I have time and I'm gonna do it. I remember I was on set and everyone's like, yeah, it's a female Rambo. I was like, oh, should have watched Rambo if I knew this.
A question there about just being an actor. Is it better to watch something or not watch it? Because then
there's a part of me that kind of is glad I didn't, in a way, because I think people are natural mimics and have a tendency to like copy each other. And I have this whole idea that like I may have copied too much and it comes off like not original. And I don't want it to not be original. But I'm now curious to see Rambo and see the similarities.
Yeah.
But
this is the male version of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be curious to see you impacted by Sylvester Stallone in a really monosyllabic role. Because he hardly says anything in that.
I was gonna say
I've seen
it's
clips.
Not like she's like re-emulate, like you can't re-emulate Sylvester Stallone's acting. He can't act. Like he just kills people. Like he doesn't act.
Hold it!
I'm serious. He doesn't, Sylvester Stallone is not like Oscar worthy on the acting side, but he makes great.
I think
You know,
he's
he
up
makes
for
great
Rocky. Yeah.
Rocky
Rocky,
1,
you know,
First Blood, and Rambo First Part 2 and 4. Great performances. That's all.
You know, I like the content. I'm just not, you know, I'm not going to see Sly. I'm not
I
going to
know.
try.
I agree with Greg on Rocky 1 and First Blood. Actually, Rocky 4. I mean, Rambo 4 is actually really good too. Zeb go down. We all know Zeb. Will you include unused elements from past drafts of the script in your novelization?
Yes, the novelization has scenes that we didn't shoot and characters that we added because of the crowdfunding campaign aren't in it, so it'll be a different experience.
Have Alexandra and Drax, have you seen? I know is there a finished version or is it still kind of the rough
No,
version?
it's not finished. It's finished editing. We have a picture
Yeah.
cut. Both of them have seen that cut. A little bit of tightening's been done since Peter saw it.
Okay.
But no one has seen it with all the effects added. The music hasn't been added yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully Adam Block is doing sound editing now. I don't know. He was really sick for a while. You know, it's funny. We had 60 actors in the film and a crew on average 10. Sometimes it was more, 13 on some big days. Not one person got COVID. Now we're in post-production and 3 of my 6 people have either had COVID or a super flu that's kept them down for 4 to 6 weeks.
Almost
Yeah.
everyone I know has gotten sick in the last month or so.
Yeah.
Things were really charging forward and now they're just kind of plodding along. It's the stage that's most frustrating for me because I'm relying on other people to do things that I can't do.
How did that affect filming the movie?
Well, it was a challenge throughout, but we prepared. We knew what we had to deal with, and that's the reason that I chose to do the film was because 90% of it is outdoors, which was the safest scenario.
Yeah.
My wife Tamara, she had to get everyone's vaccination status. She had to get proof of vaccination. We had a few people that weren't vaccinated, which was frustrating, but no problems.
Mhm.
We had hand sanitizing stations everywhere. Our rule was if you were indoors, you had to have a mask. If you weren't acting in the scene, and if you were outdoors, it was sort of optional. And there were plenty of hot days where we didn't wear masks outdoors. But I made it clear to the camera crew that if they were going to be on top of each other outdoors, even they should be wearing masks.
Yeah. How about casting for the villains? So Bill Kennedy.
Well, it's funny when that deli scene in the beginning where these two have the shootout. When I went down to ask the guy who owns it, who was a gruff old guy, I was telling him what the film was. He said, "Who's Teasel?" And Teasel is Brian Dennehy's role in First Blood, so he got it right away. I cast Bill Kennedy as the head guy, the local guy. He's done a few low budget horror films, and Tim O'Hearn. I don't know if Tim's ever been on your show, but he's been.
No, I know him. I've met
so
him
many films that you've seen,
Yeah.
and in fact, Tim co-directed a Western that I wrote at the start of the pandemic. So I'll have 2 movies this year. One that I wrote, and him and his partner did a great job directing it. They shot it in an old West town in Ohio in the heart at the height of the pandemic. They just didn't care. There were 12 of them living in a bunkhouse in an old West town attraction, and I never saw a photo of any of them wearing a mask. But
I do have a video interview with Tim from Buffalo, I think.
There's a lot of villains in the film because it's sort of like the Warriors, where these different factions with their different styles. And
that's a great analogy. Wow, like the Warriors. That's
the Betsies.
Awesome.
I mean, you hear the Betsies and you think the Lizzies right away, unless you're Alexandra and you've never seen the Warriors.
She's never seen the Warriors. I promise you, she's never seen the Warriors.
I would check. I'd probably watch that before the Rambo movies. That's
Really?
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, I have so many to watch now.
I know. It's going to be if we do a sequel, there's going to be a clause in the contract. All these films.
Yeah. How about filming your
fine with
fights? Alexander, how about filming your fight scene with Tim? What was that like?
So fun. That was such a fun day. The day before we choreographed it and really got it locked. And then we had the night to kind of process it. And then when we got there, it went really well.
Yeah.
I mean, we flew through it. We got through
that
a
lot of
really
coverage.
fast. Got a lot of coverage. And Tim's awesome to work with.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
you know, so he's supportive, patient, all of that stuff. And I think it actually, I mean, I saw it, like, what?
I just thought about, do you remember, Greg, I actually hit him by mistake.
No.
I don't know if you, no.
With a rock?
Yeah. Like he left that. Yeah. So like there's a scene where in my fight scene, but you know, what I do is there's a rock and it's, you know, it's a prop, you know what I mean? It's like a styrofoam type thing, but it looks really real. And we were going through the walkthrough and he was like, I'm okay, we're walking through, and I go to 100 and bam, hit him in the face. And like, he like said it, he was like, hey, what is, so he like gives me stuff about that. He's like, yeah, because Trazz like doesn't know how to go half speed. So I like hit him in the face like, all I know, my only gear is 100. That's all I know. I don't know.
It is, no, it's hard to go half speed.
Yeah, I don't, my only gear is 100.
Because even we were running our fight and they're like half speed and I'm like, I'm still kind of giving a little bit too much. I can feel it, like, because you're doing a fight scene and you're like in the headspace and then you're just like,
right,
and then but
well,
yeah,
you say half speed really for the camera so he can get his points and focus and all that stuff. But I was also worried for your fight scene because we were out, there was no cover, we were out in the sun, and that was half a day that we spent on that fight, even though we were efficient the whole time. I was worried about heat stroke and things like that. Whereas for Peter's fight, there was total tree cover. And the two fights stylistically are totally different. And we planned that out, that Alexandra's would be long and have a lot of cuts, but never have your typical close-ups. We were going to keep it wide shots with just some simple cutaways. But Peter's was always kind of designed to be one long take, which they pulled off. And I remember when we were shooting something else where you guys were rehearsing that, we were hearing the screams. Yeah. They were basically in a pit. The ground descended on all the sides, so it was like a pit. So we couldn't see them, but we were hearing all these screams. And I assume that's from you getting slammed into the tree and when you and Andrew were smacking each other.
Yeah. You know, I tell people all like that scene now. One of the things, let me just back this up, right? So like my first time working with Greg Lamberson, Greg is very relaxed on set. Like he's very relaxed, right? He's not barking, he's very relaxed. And sometimes, you know, you'll be like, okay, is he in this? Is he like, you know, but what I learned is that Greg Lamberson knows exactly what he wants, right? Like he knows when he's got the shot. He knows everything. So when we were getting ready to do this fight scene, as we're rehearsing, it was, I'm talking about just 100%. We were going out all energy. We're grunting, we're yelling. He's literally slamming me up against a tree, right? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Not me, the actor.
Right, the actor. He's slamming my back up against a tree. And when we did the first take of it, it was so real. I don't even know if we could have gotten another take. I mean, we were so like just exasperated from breath, my back from getting rammed up a tree. It was just, and Greg said, no, we got it. And I was like, oh, you know, and of course it's magic on the camera, but you know, I don't even know if we could have done another take.
That was dumb of me not to do another take though. It was perfect, but there were so many times that take would have a glitch. You know, that we couldn't use a take. And if that had happened in that scene, it would have been it
would have been bad.
Would have been a lot of CGI on Chris Cosgrave's part trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot of action movies before, Trazz, or fight scenes?
I have done. I've done some scenes where I've gotten killed a couple times. I've shot in weapons and stuff like that. But this one, I got a chance to do so many cool things in this movie that Greg kind of, now I got the bug because of Greg, right?
Yeah.
And I'm you know what I'm saying? And now I'm to the point where like, just call me action star Trazz. That's it. Yeah. I don't want to do anything else unless it's an action movie. You know, I got a chance to do a lot of cool stuff that normally, you know, either the actor would shy away from, or maybe they're bringing in a stunt double. And it was great to really get a chance to do those things. I drove a car at like 50 miles an hour backwards. When can I ever say I'll get a chance to do that again? Right? Like, you got to do it. You know what I'm saying? So because of this, I've done some other films, but by far this was the coolest movie that I got a chance to do all the coolest stuff in.
Let's see. John Wood in the chat wants to know what special features can we expect on the Blu-ray and DVD, and he's going to be picking one up on the Indiegogo campaign.
Well, of course, there's the commentary, and there will be some alternate takes, maybe some flubs, but I don't really like doing those. I don't like embarrassing people. If they're good natured and the person's laughing too, that I do, but I don't ever want anyone bowing their heads that we're making fun of them. Truthfully, we cut out very little of this film. There's a couple of deleted scenes. Honestly, no big shakes. We cut the film very tight. Most of what I wanted is in there. So it's not like there's going to be a hidden sequence that didn't make the film because it was too long or anything. The film is pretty much everything I want it to be.
Again, the man knows what he wants. Like, you know, he'll go into it. He's not questioning which angle we do. Like, he has everything in his mind that he knows that he wants. And so that's how we shot the movie. It's not, you know, the outtakes are just the outtakes that we messed up on. But for the most part, he knew what he wanted for this.
And Chris shows a lot of the shots too. Chris Cosgrave, my cinematographer. I should say, one of the reasons that I knew the film was possible was if he was able to get the time off from being a stay-at-home dad to shoot it. Normally he does effects stuff for me, and I've seen his editing and I've seen stuff he shoots on his own, and I know how talented he is. And he was just the one person in the area that I knew could make this film. And so there was a lot of trust, you know, on my part as far as what shots to get. There were a couple of times where I called him out because I didn't like a particular angle, but for the most part, we were in total sync on how everything should be covered. And it's only the second time of the 9 films I've done where I worked with somebody who was already a friend. So we had the shorthand, you know, and you didn't have to worry about stepping on each other's toes too much. And that makes everything a lot easier, especially. Do you normally
edit your own things, or do you have someone else?
Never. I've had the same editor for 26 years from my third film on. We have a process. He's in New York City, so we have a process where I do super detailed notes on every take. I like this line from this take, this line from this take. We should go from this to that. I mean, my notes to him were almost 100 pages long. But whenever there's a problem, something doesn't cut, I've learned that I just have to say this doesn't work, and I know he's going to find the solution. Like I learned several films ago that I shouldn't be banging my head against the wall because he'll find the solution. And the editing is so important of a film.
Yeah. Alexandra, what was it like to work with some of the veteran actors like Lynn Lowry?
Oh my God, I loved Lynn. She was so awesome. She's so good too. It's a pleasure to work with an actor like that's just so good. Like, and we had so many good actors on this movie. But the confidence that comes with like being a very seasoned actor, it was really, really cool to get to interact with her, hear her stories. I got to see Shivers, I believe. Shivers. Yeah. Yes. I got to see that and hang out with her and stuff. But yeah, it's really cool because she has stories about how the industry was and how it's transitioned, and it was a pleasure working with her.
Trazz, how did you get in the casting side of filmmaking?
Well, for me, how I got into it was, I'm an actor, right? That's first and foremost. But I had a buddy that came from LA. This was some years ago to shoot a film. His name is John Abrahams. And John came and, we met. I knew him. But the thing about the confidence that he had was that, Peter, you're a good actor and good actors know other good actors, right? So like I have a theater background. So I was able to cast his film with a lot of people that I was confident with, that I had worked with in the past. And from there, it kind of snowballed, right? Like, you know, once you're in it and you help other actors get work, then they come back. Well, what do you got? What else you got? You know what I mean? And then also the word travels and it just kind of snowballed. So I was working as an independent casting director several years. I mean, I casted the first Purge that was shot in Buffalo, a host of other TV films and things of that sort. But up to recently, a year ago, some of my friends that were also casting directors that were kind of my competition, but we were all friends. We also helped one another. We decided that we didn't want to compete with one another anymore. So we formed one company called Casting Buffalo. And we've been extremely successful. We've only been in business for about, for 1 year now. But it's kind of all of our previous databases combined, and we're no longer competing with one another for work, and all of the work comes to us. So it's been really, really great, for me to have that experience doing it on my own and now having partners to share the load with. Mm-hmm. It's been really good.
And Alexandra, you said you didn't see the Rambo movie, so I was just curious, what kind of movies are your favorite movies?
My first favorite movie ever was Gladiator. I also really like Donnie Darko, Clockwork Orange. My current favorite movie, well, it's a little bit older now, Fight Club. Yeah, those kinds of movies. I like drama, thriller, action, that kind of stuff. So this was very much something that it was on brand for what I like. I just hadn't seen certain movies that had inspired it.
Yeah. I was just wondering what kind of movies made you want to become an actor?
Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff like Fight Club, stuff like Gladiator. Just things that were a little bit weird, made you think, amazing acting, new ideas. Something that changes you when you watch it. I remember watching Clockwork Orange and being like, I will never be the same person after that movie. And I love that about film.
How old were you when you saw Clockwork Orange for the first time?
Oh God, I was probably 10 or 12. I think I was 12 or something.
Yeah. That's probably not appropriate, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick's appropriate for all ages.
I
wish I could get my daughter to watch it. I'm trying to get Lolita on. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'm actually currently listening to the audiobook. Brooke Lewis Bellas, Go Guns of Eden. I'm still working here in Hollywood, but had to take a break to send a congrats and love to Without Your Head and the Guns of Eden team.
Brooke is one of our producers, and she has a cameo. She's on the TV in the bar scene with Alexandra. She does the Judge Perino character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was happy to see her. I'm a big fan of Brooke. And you mentioned the score, and I heard a little bit of on your Indiegogo, and it really is great. How much input do you have on something like that?
Well, Armand is the composer, and we talk about it from as soon as I know I'm making a film, we start discussing the score, and we discuss it. And very often he forgets everything we've discussed. And when he gets in the studio with his partner, he goes off on all sorts of tangents. And sometimes I love the tangents and sometimes I don't. But by the end, we're both very happy with the scores. This one, though, the inspiration I wanted was Ron Grainer, the Omega Man score. And if you listen to our score, it plays with that a little bit. And he also did the Doctor Who score, and just terrific. And him and Giorgio Moroder's Cat People. Those are the two scores. Oh, and Assault on Precinct 13. Those are the three scores that I kept saying, I want a mixture of all this stuff.
Yeah. How long of a process is that usually for someone to finish the score?
It usually ends up taking a couple of months. I mean, his partner, Joe Rosler, is a professional musician, and Armand teaches college, and he's a professional sound engineer. I think right now he's recording 10,000 Maniacs double album, or maybe it's a Goo Goo Dolls. So, I mean, they're in the industry, and if they have to take a week off for a big record, I can't say no.
Now, I know both Alexandra and Trazz aren't going to be here for a long, long time. So, and Alexandra's traveling stuff. So, Alexandra, how can people follow you and see what else you're up to?
I usually post about stuff on my Instagram. It's at Alexandra Faye 16. That's probably the platform that I'm the most active on. And I usually post about projects, stills, videos. I post on my stories all the time. So I'd say that's probably the best platform for me.
And are you working on anything currently?
So I just finished, I'm going into post-production right now for a feature that I was one of the producers on, but I also starred in. It's called Bound. So we just wrapped on that, and then we went into the holidays. So now we're getting into post. Yeah, that's like the main one I'm working on right now. So I got to get that one pretty solid in post, and then I'll branch out to some other stuff after.
And Trazz, how can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Trazz9, on Facebook at Trazz Johnson. You can go to my website, peterjohnsontheactor.com. I got a slew of stuff that I'm working on. I got kids' books that I'm an author of. You can also go to my casting website, castingbuffalo.com, to find out about future castings for commercials and films as well.
And can I ask the origin of the Trazz name?
Old school. It's a old nickname, old neighborhood nickname. Now here's the thing. The reason I keep my social media that way, I also am an adjunct professor at Buffalo State College, and my students like to stalk me, right? So
okay, all right.
I can't keep my real name and stuff on there, my professor name, so I just keep my childhood nickname on there, and they'll say, "Hey, I saw this guy named Trazz on Facebook. Is that you?" And I'm like, "No, it's not me." You know, so just throw my students off.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Right, I got to throw
You're a very busy man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And Ty Chayman here in the chat room, I also know him from Buffalo, says he's super excited to see the movie. And Adrian wants to know, do you have a distributor for Guns of Eden?
Before you do that, I'm going to sign off, guys. I love you. Support the movie. Guns of Eden coming out soon. Make sure you guys, please give to the finishing funding of the film. But it's a great movie. I promise you guys won't be disappointed.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for me. Cool meeting you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. So is he too early asking about a distributor?
I'm playing that one close to the vest. We'll say we have interest and leave it at that. But the finishing funds make the difference on how quickly we can finish the film. Were you at Buffalo Dreams the year we showed a film called Farm Days, which was a kids film with animals, with human voices? I think
that was the last one I was at. That was the year before the pandemic, I think. Yeah.
If you remember, that director, Ryan Moser, came out and slept in a car. Like, he didn't make any arrangements.
I didn't know that part, but
he was just very artsy and cool about things. But he talked a lot about color correction. And I was really impressed. And I made a note, I want to work with this guy someday. And, just from having met him at the festival. And he's going to be doing our color correction out in LA. And it's going to be the first time I've worked with a professional colorist instead of like my DP or editor doing the best they can. I mean, it's going to be a full color grade and it's going to look fantastic. These things cost money when you go to professionals. Yeah. And, the sooner that we wrap up this campaign, hopefully successfully, the sooner we deliver a finished film to a distributor.
Well, I always say this, not just as you hear, but I always think your Q&As are the best for festivals because you're coming from a filmmaker's perspective, someone who's been in the business for a long time. So you ask stuff I don't think everyone else asks. Along those lines, like you just said about color correction, do you sometimes learn from younger people who are maybe things you didn't think about?
No.
No, all right, fair enough.
No, I'm too stubborn. I mean, I learn from people if they have something to teach, I think. But the technical aspects like color grading and stuff, I don't know my way around editing programs. Like when I edited my first two films, it was on a Steam Deck. And then when I did my third film, Naked Fear, with Phil, my editor, and he sat there punching the buttons, and I sat next to him. I was like, why am I even sitting here? He knows what he's doing better than I do. So a key part of everything is to surround yourself with the right people. It's important with a cast. It's important with a crew. I mean, I cast a crew the same way I cast talent. I want to know that they know what they're doing and that they're good people to work with, and that we're going to work well as a group. That's so important to me. And then it's the same thing in post-production.
Yeah. I think that's something good for everyone though to hear, because I think sometimes people want to do every aspect of the movie. And while I get it, because then you don't have to pay everybody, but it's kind of impossible to, I think, make something good if you're doing absolutely everything on it.
I know some directors, like super talented directors, who are super talented editors. Larry Fessenden is one who he never lets anyone else cut his films. He's a great editor. More power to him. But if I know somebody can do a better job than me, I look better if they do a better job than I do if I do a pissy job. And I got to live with these films, for the rest of my life. And I don't want to be kicking myself because I did something wrong that somebody else could have made good.
Yeah. Plus, it takes a lot longer if you're doing everything.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
But I'm involved. I'm involved just as long either way. What's really cool about today's technology, though, is that, my editor in New York sends me a clip and I ask for a few changes and he'll get it to me shortly. And I've had times where then we've sent the clip to a composer in LA and he's turned around and had music a couple of hours later. And it's just amazing, the emails back and forth, how you can do all this stuff without sitting in the same room with each other.
That's very true. Yeah.
And very convenient for the pandemic.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll put up the link for the crowdfunding campaign for Indiegogo. It's very cool to have everyone here talk about Guns of Eden. I'm looking forward to it. What are the plans for Guns of Eden once you do have it finished? Is it going right to Blu-ray, or again, is it too early to?
The plan is to go straight to distribution. If it turns out our release date is far enough away that maybe there's a festival in there we can do a premiere, fine. But the goal is not to do the festival circuit on this one. I want to get it out there and I want people to see it and appreciate it.
Very cool.
Appreciate my fantastic lead actress and the rest of the cast. She did a fantastic job.
You did. You were great. Thanks, I really enjoyed watching it, and I really would. I hope to. Well, I will eventually see the finished one with all the sound and everything. And it would, even though it's going to come out, you said direct, the Blu-ray DVD. It would be cool to see it on the big screen.
It would be, especially the helicopter stuff.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing this.
Good luck on post, Alexandra.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Safe travels.
Yeah.
And by the way, Greg, how can people follow you?
They don't have to follow me, but if they would go to Indiegogo.com and watch our pitch video, which includes the teaser for the film, you actually see footage from the movie. So you're not just hearing us say, this is what we're going to do. You can actually see what we've done. That would be awesome.
Very cool. I think you might have froze up on me right here at the end.
No, I'm moving.
Okay. Yeah. It was just real brief. It was kind of, I guess, like when you got stuck in the mud at the end of the movie. But, yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Neal.
I'll wave awkwardly while I hit end, but thank you. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks. You have to end it, not me, I think.
Yeah, I know. I always feel weird saying just hanging up on everybody, but it doesn't save otherwise.
You should do some drawings for like an end credits montage and just hold them up.
That would be good. I think I could do the share. Well, yeah, I could do share screen, but I like the idea of just holding it up.
And hum a theme song like it's coming from off camera.
Yeah, I will work on this for next time. All right.
Well, we kept it under an hour.
Was that?
Right? We did. Right?
Yeah.
We were worried about time.
Yeah, that's all right. I always think my idea is it should just go as long as it seems good.
There you go. A conversation runs its natural course.
Right. It's like a movie or anything.
I did just want to